Good evening to one and all. Welcome you all to the daily Indian Express newspaper analysis for the date 26th as well as 27th November 2023, brought to you by Ganesh IAS Academy. Okay, let's get into the today's newspaper analysis. Mentioned here are the list of articles which we are going to have the analysis in the upcoming slides. So have a look at it. Okay, let's move on to the analysis of each and every article one by one. India-China trade data mismatch increases to $15 billion in January to October time period. So the news is related to the mismatch in the data related to the import of India as well as export of China from their respective ministries. So under prelims it is related to economic and social development. Similarly under mains it is related to GS paper 3 economic and development under a subtopic called Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resource, growth, development and employment. Okay, let's move on to the explanation of the news. See, this is the data of China's export figure to India, where you could able to see that during 2023 Jan to October period it is $97.97 billion. But in the case of the import from the China during the same period, according to the data officially announced by India, is $82.5 billion. So we could be able to see that there is some $15 billion discrepancies, that is about 20%. This 15% discrepancy is the 20% rise in the previous year's discrepancy, that is $12 billion. So what is the reason for this kind of discrepancy that has occurred in the data with relation to the ministry of both the countries? It is because of the undervoicing of the import that has been coming from the China. Second is the use of different international standards like cost insurance freight and free on board. So what is the cost insurance freight and free on board? We will look into the upcoming slides. Thirdly, it is the difference in the time in recording the transaction. So these are all the reasons for the discrepancies that has occurred in the data with relation to the import of the products from China in India and then export of products from China in China. So what kind of effect this discrepancy creates is because of the under invoicing of the import, means the under invoicing is done to reduce or escape the import duties that has been levied by our customs officials or custom authorities. Such kind of under invoicing will be leading to revenue loss for our exchequers. Secondly, because of this under invoicing, the dumping of the products from China will be taking place. Secondly, it will be leading to loss of domestic industries. So these are all the effect that it carries in the domestic arena. So what is free on board as well as cost insurance freight is about? See, according to the data, the free on board, the method free on board is the method used by India to calculate the to export from India. Similarly, CIF, that is the cost insurance and freight, is the method that is used by China to calculate its import data. See, the free on board is nothing but calculating the cost of goods and their transportation to the port of the departure is what their freight on board is about. But in the case of cost insurance and freight method, here the data will be calculated along with the cost of good and the transportation to the ports of the departure. Along with these data, the additional costs such as insurance and then freight charges to the destination port will also be counted. So naturally, the cost insurance freight will always be greater than the free on board. But this additional cost will be merely of 10%. But India has reported the another extra 50%, 15%, another extra 5% discrepancies. That is, that 5% in discrepancies is not yet known why it has happened. But this 10% of increase, that discrepancy is acceptable because of the additional cost that is calculated in the cost insurance freight method. So this is what the thing is about. So what are all the efforts that has been made by the government to overcome such kind of discrepancy is, secondly, a constant vigil by the revenue intelligence. Secondly, preventive measures like issuance of suitable alerts and modus operandi. Thirdly, action will be taken as per law if there is any, if they are detecting any kind of cases. Fourthly, digitalization of the process, so that the transparency as well as accountability will be established. So these are all the efforts that has been made by government with relation to the discrepancies or the undervaluing of the invoicing that is happening between the trade between India and China. So what need to be studied further is, we should know about the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, its structure, function as well as its objective. Secondly, we should also be aware of GST. Thirdly, we should also be aware of countervaluing duty. These are all the other things which we need to be aware of, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. Center brings roadmap for mandatory blending of compressed biogas. So the news is related to the recent announcement or the roadmap by the center for blending of compressed biogas with the natural gas. So how the news is related to examination is, under prelims it is related to economic and social development. Similarly, under mains it is related to GS paper 3 economic and development under a subtopic called Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resource, growth, development and employment. Okay, let's move on to the further analysis of the news. See, the government has announced the mandatory blending of compressed biogas in transportation and then the natural gas which is used for the domestic purpose through the city gas distribution. So this is what the news is about, and then the blending of the compressed biogas with the natural gas for transportation as well as the piped natural gas for the household will commence from 25 to 2025-26 period. And what they have said is that 1% of the total compressed natural gas and then domestic piped natural gas will be made during financial year 26, and it will be increased to 3% by 27 and then 4% by 28. And then the obligation, the roadmap also mandates 5% of blending by 29, financial year 29. This is what the roadmap is about, and then central repository body will be responsible for monitoring as well as implementation of this blending activity. Whether it has been the implementation is been taking place according to the roadmap or not, it will be monitored by CRB, that is Central Repository Board body. And what is the benefit according to the ministry is, see, the it will enhance the domestic production and as well as manufacturing of the LNG as well as compressed biogas. Most importantly, it will enhance the manufacturing of compressed biogas. Secondly, it will arrest the outflow of the forex that is happening because of import of the liquefied natural gas from the Middle East countries. Secondly, it will help India to achieve its promise that has been given in the international arena, like in the case of United Nations Framework for Convention on Climate Change, to achieve the net zero target by 2070, and then it will be promoting the circular economy. Fourthly, it will enhance the investment in the biogas segment. So these are all the benefits that will be arising because of the roadmap. And what does this biogas is about and how it has been made? See, the biogas is nothing but natural gas which is produced from the anaerobic decomposition of the biomass, and the source which produces from which this biogas can be produced are agriculture, cattle dungs, sugarcane, as well as municipal solid waste, as well as sewage treatment plant, and can be burnt. The biogas can be obtained by directly burning these kind of sources. and also at the same time it could be purified as well as upgraded by removing the carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and then compressing it to the compressed biogas. And then nearly 90% of methane that is present inside the biogas, which is similar to the maximum amount of methane that is present in the liquefied natural gas or simply natural gas. So let's move on to what does this natural gas is about. Natural gas is the fossil energy sources which is obtained from uh, beneath the earth, and the largest component of the natural gases, as I said, it is methane. And liquefied natural gas is also a natural gas that has been cooled to liquid at the temperature of minus 260 Fahrenheit for shipping as well as the storage purpose. And at the same time, the volume of the natural gas in its liquid state is about 600 times smaller than the volume of the natural gas in its gaseous state. So this is what the natural gas details is about. So what are all the things which we need to be further aware of is, we should be aware of natural gas grid. Secondly, we should also be aware of Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. Thirdly, we should also be aware of hydrocarbon exploration and licensing policy. So these are all the other areas which we need to be further aware of. And with this, we have reached the end of this topic. Why Finland is blaming Russia for sudden influx of migrants? So the news is related to the recent influx of migrants to Finland through the border of Russia, and then Finland is blaming the influx of migrants. In the cause of this such kind of migrant rise is because of the Russia. That is what the blame made by the Finland. So that is what the news is about. So how the news is related to examination is, under prelims it is related to current event of national as well as international importance. Similarly, under mains it is related to effect of policies, politics, and developed as well as developing countries, and also the which affects the Indian interest and India's diaspora. So let's move on to the news. See, as I said, Finland has accused Russia for the influx of migrants in their own country, and the reason what Finland is saying is that why the Russia is doing such kind of thing is that the earlier part of this year, Finland has joined the NATO members. So this is why the Russia is using the migrant as the tool to disrupt the peace in the Finland society. That is why what the blame made by the Finland. Okay, let's look into what is the data is about. So more than 900 migrants have arrived the Finland since August, and they hail from countries like Middle East, that is Syria, Yemen, Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan, and they arrive in sneakers in Finland's harsh winter, mostly through riding bicycles. And Finland says they are arriving through the border of Russia, and then Russian authorities are not monitoring such kind of influx of migrants, and at the same time Russians are helping these migrants to enter into Finland. This is what they are saying. And European countries have named such kind of activities, like in the case of allowing more number of illegal migrants to enter European countries, most importantly Western European countries, and to disrupt their peace. Such kind of activities have been termed by European leaders as hybrid warfare. And then Western countries say Russian as well as Belarus use migrants as the tool to destabilize their democracy. So this is what the hybrid warfare is about. And as I said, they are doing what Western countries are saying is that they wanted to create wedge within the society. Recently, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia also faced such kind of immigration pressure from their borders with Belarus more than 2 years, and this is what the news map is about. See, we could able to see Russia shares a long border with Finland, and at the same time it also shares border with Latvia, Estonia, and also Belarus also shares borders with Russia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, as well as Ukraine. So such kind of strategic importance they have with the Western European countries. So what are all the things which we need to be further aware of is, we should also know what is NATO, what is their mandate, and what is the structure, and who are all the countries that are member of it. Secondly, we should also be aware of the Russian-Ukraine war. Thirdly, we should also be aware of Middle East as well as the European map. So these are all the other further things which we need to be further aware of. And with this, we have reached the end of this topic. Center asked states to review preparedness. What we know about the pneumonia outbreak in China. So the news is related to the recent spike of pneumonia cases in China, as a result of which center has alerted the state governments to increase or step up their preparedness. So this is what the news is about, and how the news is related to examination is under prelims it is related to general science. Similarly under mains it is related to awareness in the field of IT, space, computers, robotics, nanotech, biotech, as well as issues relating to IPR. So under this topic only the news has been related to examination. Okay, let's move on to the analysis of it. As I said, the center has asked the state to review the public health as well as the hospitals to increase their preparedness. And what exactly is happening in China is there has been a spike in the incidence of respiratory illness in China, most importantly for the children, and it is happening during the onset of the winter season in China. And the situation has arisen or came to known to the other countries when the WHO has asked the China for the more information site regarding the report released by Program for Monitoring of Emerging Diseases on clusters of undiagnosed pneumonia and children. So this is what exactly is happening in China, and where the spike has happened is it has happened in northeastern region of China. And who is the most vulnerable section that has been affected by such kind of spike is the children. The cases as well as hospitalization among the children have risen exponentially. And also at the same time, overall the population, those who are also vulnerable to such kind of attacks are elderly people as well as the pregnant women. Whether the outbreak is a new disease, no. As far as the Chinese authorities, what they are saying is that the increase is the recent spike in the case of respiratory illness is because of the known pathogens like influenza, mycoplasma, pneumonia, respiratory syncytial virus, and also the SARS virus, which is responsible for spreading of COVID-19. And according to WHO, it is the mycoplasma pneumonia that has which is commonly causing infection in the children is responsible for the recent spike in the China. This is what the statement that has been given by World Health Organization. So from their respective announcement, we could be able to come to our conclusion that this is not the outbreak of new diseases. So why the outbreak has happened now is because of the lockdown exist wave. So the lockdown restrictions has been eased in China, as a result of which the freedom of movement has begun in China. So that is the reason why it is leading to recent spike in the pneumonia virus in the respiratory illness in this China. Secondly, the onset of winter is also acting as a carrier for the spread of such kind of illness. And how are authorities dealing with the outbreak is, the authorities are dealing with increasing their surveillance, preparedness, but the restriction is not like harsh as during the COVID lockdown. And also at the same time, WHO has informed the people to wear mask, to have to maintain distance, to ensure sanitation, and also testing as well as the surveillance need to be enhanced so that this outbreak will not develop itself into a further pandemic. That is what the authorities are saying right now. So what is the concern is that, see, what the Chinese authorities are saying is that the influenza will be peaking in the winter, but they do not know when it will be settling down. It may also be prolonging to the future. The cases may also prolong to the near future also, and at the same time they also warned of the risk of the rebound of COVID-19. So this is what the concern that has been raised by the Chinese authorities itself. And why India, should India be worried? No. Why? Because is, first of all, the outbreak of the COVID pandemics has taught Indian medical health system more lessons to how to deal with pandemic. Secondly, we are already prepared with the kind of treatment, medicines, most importantly vaccine, so that there won't be any kind of worriness that India should be afraid of, because of, like in the example, like in the case of antibiotic, azithromycin is the vaccine that has been used for mycoplasma pneumonia, which is available at sufficient quantity in India. So there is no need to panic for India. So this is what the news is about, as overall analysis of the outbreak in China is about, and the relation with the outbreak's relation with the India is about. So what need to be studied further is, we should aware of what is COVID-19, how it has been formed, and what are all the vaccine that has been introduced to overcome the COVID-19. These are all the things which we need to be aware of. Secondly, we should be aware of ICMR, its structure, function and mandate. Thirdly, the gene editing tools that has been introduced in the recent times, most importantly UK. So these are all the things which we need to be further aware of, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. Foreign portfolio investment has invested 378 crore in equities in the November so far. So from the heading itself we could able to know that the foreign portfolio investment has invested a net 378 crore this November so far. And how the news is related to the examination is, under prelims it is related to economic and social development. Similarly, under mains it is related to Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resource, growth, development and employment. Okay, the net investment of 378 crores has been made in the equity market in India by the portfolio investors. This has been made because of the decline in the US bond yield, and so far this year a net 96,340 crores have been invested in portfolio investments. And still now uncertainty that is prevailing in the global economics is continuing to dictate the portfolio investments. So this is what the news is about. Let's move on to the analysis of the news. Okay, let's first know about what is this portfolio investment. The investment that has been made through the stock exchanges, that is the secondary market, is called as portfolio investment. And the portfolio investment also refers to investment in instruments like shares as well as debentures. And there are three types of portfolio investment. First is foreign institutional investments. The institutions like banks, insurance companies that are investing on behalf of the individuals in the foreign countries stock exchanges are called as foreign institutional investment. Secondly, depository receipts. The receipts that has been raised by the domestic companies in the international stock exchange are called as depository receipts, as well as the offshore fund. These are all the three types of foreign portfolio investment. What is the benefits of the FPI is, the increased FPI will be leading to increased access to the liquidity, which in turn will be leading to increased investment, thereby leading to increased production, then increased employment, and then increased economic growth. So this is what the benefit is about, but it has some challenges in it. FPI's challenge, first and foremost challenge is it is vulnerable to the global distress, and it could be taken out by the investors at no time. If there is any kind of distress that is happening in the global economy, means there will be overnight of flight of the capital in the portfolio investment will be made. Such kind of thing will be creating a turmoil in the domestic area where the portfolio investment has been made. This is what the two challenges of the portfolio investment. So what need to be studied further is, we should be aware of what is FDI and what is current account and capital account, and then what is balance of payment as about. So these are all the areas which we need to be further aware of, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. Okay, let's move on to today's prelims practice question. Mentioned here is the today's practice prelims question. I want those students, those who are watching this session online, please do comment the option point for the question which you are seeing right now on the board. Okay, with this we have reached the end of today's session. Please do like, comment, share as well as subscribe, so that you could getting the notification with relation to the daily current affairs session, and also weekly science and tech environmental session, and then important session related to the examination that will be brought to you in the future by Ganesh AS Academy. Thank you.